too much? Me wearing this jacket. Oh, I think the hat's too much. Good morning, YouTube. Katie from the K Show vlog here, and say hello to your newest American. I was actually gonna do like a daily vlog style video, you know, follow the day in the life yesterday, but it started and then it went out the window really fast. The day was a whirlwind. I was just way too like in the moment, doing everything and enjoying everything, and then I just totally forgot that I had a camera in my bag and that's what my plan was. So I wanted to have a quick chat with you here and just talk about becoming a citizen. It was a big day for me yesterday. I became an American citizen, so let's just like have a chat about it. So first of all, I went to this interview. The immigration department like sets you an office where you have to be at a certain time for your interview and everything, right? And to take your test. Mine was in Montgomery, Alabama. So I drove up there. I actually ended up spending the weekend there. Just got a hotel, turned it into a weekend away because my appointment was like first thing Monday morning, and I didn't want to be like attempting to drive up, not knowing the traffic, or like never driving even in that direction. I didn't want to risk anything about being late because that would have just put a spanner in the whole process. So went up on Friday afternoon, got a hotel, spent the whole weekend exploring. Montgomery is, I would say, like an up-and-coming city. I think it's going to be really nice in a few years. It's got that feeling of a city where it's like on the edge, you know, like it's building, it's not fully there yet. They've still got like a little bit to go in terms of tourist infrastructure and whatnot, but like it's definitely in that direction. It was a really nice place to spend a weekend. So I'm going to write a full blog post for it with all the things I loved. Found a lot of cool local places to eat, bottomless mimosa brunch place, like just lots of cool places. So keep an eye on my website for that. That will have all the information, but definitely worth a visit if you're in that area or heading in that area. Anyway, we're getting off track. So I went to Montgomery to become an American citizen. That's where my interview was. Now, what I had to do for this interview was take the history test. I had to study 100 questions, and they were going to ask a random selection of 10 of those questions, and out of those 10 I had to get 6 right. So that was the deal with those. I've been studying them every day at Gold's Gym on a treadmill for months. So like I had them memorized backwards. There was only 2 that I would always get mixed up, so like I was like, please don't ask those 2. But other than that, I was supremely confident, 100%. Did you expect anything else? I didn't. So I had to do the test. And then I had to do speaking in English sentence to prove I could speak in English. Like I could read it and then speak it and it would sound correct. And then a written test, I had to write a sentence in English. So the person would say a sentence and I had to, you know, from just hearing it, be able to write it and spell it correctly and everything. So those 3 parts, that was like my testing part. And then it was just interview part. They'd already done all the background checks and everything, so it really was just the interview, making sure I wasn't, you know, a bad character or whatever, making sure I had good answers and a good personality, which luckily I do. So once that was done, I had passed, and it was actually a pretty quick process. Much quicker than like any other part of this immigrant journey. You have to know, like the citizen part, this is just one part. And for me, the easiest part of the whole thing, right? To get here, just to be able to move here and then apply for a green card and all that stuff, way more complicated, way more time consuming, lots more paperwork, there's medical checks, there's like more background checks, like it's way more intense, way more expensive, way more intimidating. Having to stand there in a room naked, like to get a thorough medical check and then a chest x-ray and a blood test, like so much stuff goes into that, that this citizen part was like still stressful because I wanted to make sure it went well. I didn't want to be spending all this money just for it to fail, but like it's stressful in a completely different way. The actual process of it, the actual interview, just way easier and way more smooth. So it was a very comfortable interview. And yeah, then I passed. And luckily, so the next step after you pass your test and all that stuff is actually, then you have to get rescheduled to take the oath, and that's when it's official. But I was very lucky that they were doing same day oath, so I'd wait like 40 minutes for my ceremony, and I was so appreciative of that and very grateful because like that just cut months off the process. Like, it's done. It was done in one day. You know, I obviously applied at the start of the year, and now it's the end of the year, so it's still like a year-long process for me, but like it just took it from what might have been like a year and 3 months, a year and 6 months, down to just that. So they said if you wait around, I could just stay and do my oath then. So I was like, yeah, of course, I'm gonna wait around and get that done. So then we go into this other room, and he explained like all the process with, there's like one more wave of paperwork we have to do, which I'm about to do today. So he explained what we had to do for that, and then, you know, we took the oath. I felt so ripped off actually, because like I didn't actually have to say the oath, and like this bit of paper is the oath. I've been staring at it all year, right? Like I'd written it out, I knew it, and I was like, yes, I'm gonna say this, and it meant something to me, you know. And then we get in there, they do a group thing, and the guy's like, I'm gonna read it out and you just say if you agree or not. And I was like, shouldn't I be saying it? Like, if I'm like pledging this loyalty to this country, like, shouldn't I be saying it? So I felt a bit ripped off that I didn't have to actually say it out loud. Like, I just was like, raise your right hand, and then I do. So yeah, I felt a bit ripped off by that. And the other thing I was ripped off by is like, we couldn't have a family member in the room, so all the family members had to be outside, and they were looking in through a window, and so they were the ones taking photos and stuff, and so everyone's photos were just like reflections of the parking lot, and like you couldn't see anything, you know. Like, it kind of sucked that we couldn't have them there with us, so that kind of sucked. I think everyone was a bit upset and ripped off about that. And then afterwards, so we say I do, we take our oath, we get some photos, and like, that's it. They didn't like play an anthem or anything. It was like the least patriotic experience. I feel like because I expected so much more, I expected it amped up, you know, but it really wasn't. And it was just like done, and then go, and then whatever. It's all done. So that was the experience yesterday, but super cool that it's all official. I know some people think like, why become a citizen? I've been asked this like a million times. I moved to America in 2013, so this is like a 9-year in the making moment. And lots of people have asked. Some Americans have got angry at me because I wasn't a citizen. Some Australians got angry at me because I want to become a citizen. Like, I've experienced a lot of different opinions, you know, in positive and negative, you know, honestly. But it's just like the whole thing comes full circle now for me. And when I moved here, I didn't always know I was going to become a citizen. I just moved here, and I thought it made the most sense to like keep my options open in case I ever moved back to Australia. I would remain a citizen, like that would be a smooth transition. And so my husband's an American citizen, so we'd have one of each country, and then wherever, if we choose to live in Australia or America, like we at least have one citizen, if that makes sense. And so I was like kind of keeping my options open, and had to adjust to life in America. It's a shock at first, even if you're an adult and you can understand everything and you chose to live here. There's still a lot of like culture shock, and everything's different. You feel like an outsider. There's like an emotional wave to sort of navigate through. So there was that. I was sort of just adjusting and appreciating everything. And then oh yeah, and also like I was so scarred from my first wave of applying. The 10 months of petitioning I did to be able to move to America was like horrifically stressful. I had the worst of all scenarios to get that. There's a big stack of paperwork about that thick, which has my whole life in it, medical history, banking history, like everything they could ever, that exists about me really was in that. They lost it twice. I'm trying to figure it out from Australia in the middle of the night, but since I'm a petitioner, they wouldn't talk to me. They had to talk to my husband. He was always away with the military and like unreliable for phone calls and stuff. So it was just like, it was the most stressful thing. And it ended up having like a couple of weeks notice to move and get married really fast, and it was a hectic whirlwind. But anyway, that process scarred me so much that I was like, I'll just keep a green card, and then I never have to go through that again, you know? So there was a little bit of hesitation on my part for that as well. But now, I know in the last few years, it was just feeling like, I felt like America's home now. I don't really plan to ever move back to Australia or anything like that. And I feel like America's home. This is where I'm gonna be. But it's an unrequited feeling of home, because America doesn't see me as part of its home. You know what I mean? Because I'm referred to as an alien. I can't vote or like take part in things in that way. And I have this green card that I have to show every time I'm at the airport, and I try to go through the American line, which I'm fully entitled to do as a green card holder. Someone always tries to wave me off because they see an Australian passport, and it's like I show my green card and it's like, no, I'm here, you know, I'm one of you. So it's like, it was always feeling like still an outsider, even though I think it's home. And then this, for me, it was like making it home, you know, like making it official, making it full circle. And now it's like, oh, I'm part of something, I have a home again. And I think, you know, that feeling of sort of homelessness, it was weird because I think traveling so much doesn't help that, you know, always being on the go for a long time, apart from like post-COVID era, being on the go all the time. And also then moving, like I've lived in 3 different countries, some multiple times, and more states, cities, suburbs that I could even begin to count even before I moved to America. Like I used to move around for fun, so like I've always moved. I'm not that person who's like been in one place and stayed there and like had the same group of friends, had the same doctor or whatever, like everything's always new. And so that was feeling like everywhere's home. Like I do feel home wherever I go, and I make it my home for like however long I'm there, but also nowhere's home because I'm not really a part of anywhere, and I never stay long enough to like make a good friend circle or like see the same doctor more than a couple of times. You know what I mean? Like everywhere's home and nowhere's home. And so I was feeling a little, I wanted a place, if that makes sense. And the world's still my place. I still love, you know, traveling and seeing all these places. And I do feel like everywhere's home, but like I wanted to be part of something again and have that feeling. And Australia was just feeling so far away, and like I said, I don't plan on ever moving back or anything, and I don't have a lot of ties there. So yeah, it just felt right that make this all official and bring it all full circle. And it was cool. It couldn't have been at like probably a better time, or maybe 4th of July would have been cool, but the weekend that I became a citizen, it was Veterans Day weekend, so I hope you all had a good Veterans Day weekend. But that's like a patriotic weekend here, so it kind of had that cool element. And then also the day I had my test and everything was the 14th of November here, which is the 15th of November in Australia, which is Steve Irwin Day, personal hero. So it was like kind of cool to have that little link, which it means nothing. It's like a made up thing for me to feel good, but it was cool to be like, oh, it's Steve Irwin Day and like I'm doing this. But anyway, very cool. This is just one part of the immigration journey. Like I said, there's a lot of different chapters. I had to apply to move here, then apply to stay here and get permission to work, then apply to stay here longer because the first one's conditional and it's only 2 years, and then now go through this. So there's been a lot of different interviews, a lot of different character testing and medical testing, and it just everything, background checks. It's a long, stressful thing, and a very expensive one too. I don't like thinking about how much money I have given to the immigration department, but it's very expensive, very time consuming. And just remember to hug your local immigrant next time you see them, because they go through a lot to be able to come here and just experience the things that you were born with and you just got to have, you know. So just remember your immigrants in your community. Yeah, that's my little story I wanted to share with you today. I'm pretty stoked that it's all come full circle and it's just no more paperwork ever, or like fees for filing forms. I'm happy with that, but just happy to call America home and have it all be official now. So if you made it this far, it might have just been a long ramble. If you made it this far, thank you for listening. I will see you next time. I have a ton of paperwork to do, and yeah, go USA. Bye.